The Nivkh, or Gilyak, are an indigenous ethnic group inhabiting the northern half of Sakhalin Island and the lower Amur River and coast on the adjacent Russian mainland and historically possibly parts of Manchuria. Nivkh were traditionally fishermen, hunters, and dog breeders. They were semi-nomadic, living near the coasts in the summer and wintering inland along streams and rivers to catch salmon. The land the Nivkh inhabit is characterized as taiga forest with cold snow-laden winters and mild summers with sparse tree cover. The Nivkh are believed to be the original inhabitants of the region. Nivkh or Gilyak or Amuric is a small language family, often portrayed as a language isolate, of 2 or 3 mutually unintelligible languages spoken by the Nivkh people in Outer Manchuria, in the basin of the Amgan, a tributary of the Amur, along the lower reaches of the Amur itself, and on the northern half of Sakhalin. Gilyak is the Russian rendering of terms derived from the Tungusic, Gilaki, and Manchu Chinese, Gilami, Gilami, Gilyami, for culturally similar peoples of the Amur River region, and was applied principally to the Nivkh in Western literature. Although linguistically isolated from their neighbors, the Nivkhs maintained trade and marriage relations for centuries with the Nene and other Tungus-speaking peoples of the Amur and the Ainu of southern Sakhalin. Contacts with the Ainu were sometimes hostile. The two groups occasionally raided each other's settlements and took slaves. Contacts between the Nivkhs along the Amur and the Chinese began as early as the 12th century AD. Nivkhs exchanged furs for Chinese cloth, mainly silk, cotton, and brocade, alcohol, tobacco, beads, and metal discs that were fashioned into jewelry. Now let's look at the phenotype and DNA of the Nivkh people. As compared to the Amur-Sakhalin phenotype of this Nivkh family, they have the Amur-Sakhalin phenotype, which is the most common phenotype in the Nivkhs and very rare in other peoples. Now let's look at their DNA. The closest peoples to the Nivkh people are the Tungusic, Mongolian and Turkic peoples. This is very normal, because they have lived together for centuries. But they are also irrelevant to the Nivkh people, as their language and phenotype are unrelated. Now let's compare the ancestry of the Ulch people and the Nivkh people because both are genetically very close peoples. Even the closest people are only 37% close, which is a low number. This is because they have lived together for centuries. Even their phenotype and language do not resemble the Ulch people, and this is proof that they are unrelated. Now let's compare the haplogroups of the Nivkhs with the counter peoples and look at the origin of the Nivkh people. As seen in this photo, the haplogroup distribution of the Nivkh people is irrelevant to other peoples. Now let's look at the origin of the Nivkh people. The Neolithic Boisman culture, the ancestors of the Nivkh people, migrated from the area today called Vladivostok to the island of Sakhalin and the lands next to the island of Sakhalin between 2000 and 1000 BC and mixed with some populations there to form the Nivkh people. And the Boisman people probably spoke the Proto-Nivkh language.